and I often waited on students from the University of Rochester and RIT, but they barely noticed me. I was clearly not of their caliber. One kindly explained to me how to make change from his $5 bill. My excellent scores on the math SAT exam were invisible behind my powder pink uniform. After 6 months of baking and serving donuts all night, I found a new job selling office furniture at Scranton's Book and Stationery store. Now that was a very fortunate move, and not only because I stopped eating a dozen donuts a day. Scranton's was located in downtown Rochester near a church where the college at Brockport offered classes as part of its urban outreach effort. And through that program, my life was transformed. I signed up for a course entitled History's Outcasts, Women, Children, and Criminals. It was taught by Professor Robert Smith, and it was fascinating, focusing on groups that were rarely mentioned in history books in those days. And Professor Smith convinced me to apply to Brockport as a full-time student, helped me reclaim part of the Regents scholarship I had earlier given up, and eased the crush of paperwork involved in transferring credits from Smith College. As I look back nearly 40 years later, it's clear that Brockport and Professor Smith were my salvation. The strength of state colleges and universities lies in the dedication of their faculty and the opportunities they offer to diverse individuals to gain an education that is both broad and deep. Then and now, Brockport recruited teachers that make a difference, and it brought together students from a wide range of backgrounds and experiences. Moreover, the college ensured, and it still ensures, that whatever route we take to get to its doors, once here we'll gain the skills and knowledge that prepare us to contribute to our communities and the wider society. Like so many students and so many families, I owe an enormous debt to public higher education. By January 1973, I was back in college taking 4 courses a term, year-round, spring, summer, and fall, while continuing to work full-time. I was able to juggle this load because of the incredible teachers and mentors I met at Brockport. My history professors constantly challenged me to work harder, write better, and think more deeply. And I took memorable courses in geography, education, political science, and the brand new Women's Studies program as well. After a year and a half of round-the-clock coursework, I was exhausted and exhilarated and still searching for a career. In high school, I planned to become a lawyer and then go into politics, like Senator Schumer. But the Vietnam War and the Watergate scandal persuaded me that politics was not quite the noble profession I had imagined. I'm glad he's already disappeared. I considered teaching, but my stint in a middle school social studies class during my last semester at Brockport convinced me that I didn't have the skill or the patience to teach at that level, although I am in awe of those of you who do. It was then that Dr. Smith and other faculty members suggested I apply to PhD programs and pursue an academic career. I had never thought about becoming a professor, and I still yearned to do political work of some kind, so I took one last detour. In May 1974, when I graduated from Brockport, I moved to Oakland, California to work at the Women's History Archives and test out my community organizing skills. That fall, after trying unsuccessfully to unionize the interns at the archives, I was fired from my job. And I didn't even know that was possible because I was a volunteer. Clearly, I was not cut out for community organizing. As always, my Brockport mentors knew best. So I walked to the UC Berkeley campus and signed up for the graduate record exam. In March 1975, I was offered a fellowship by only one doctoral program, the University of Pennsylvania, and I eagerly accepted it. It would have been much harder to succeed at Penn without the education and the ongoing support I received at Brockport. Fortunately, graduation doesn't have to end your relationship with favorite teachers, staff, and administrators. The Brockport faculty always welcomed me back, offered sage advice, and gave me the confidence to pursue what has been a wonderful career. I love teaching college students, and I love research and writing books. But without the encouragement of my Brockport professors, I could never have imagined, much less made this journey. So how does one repay such a debt? Of course, there is the literal debt that many of us carry, but that's to the bank, not to Brockport. Once that's repaid, I'm sure that the Alumni Association would suggest a cash donation as a good way to recognize the excellent education and personal guidance you've received here. And I do answer the call for every annual campaign. But we can also repay the debt to faculty who inspired us by giving to others what they gave to us. In my case, I was fortunate to enter academia just as women's history was emerging as an independent field. Thus, I had the chance to help build a whole new area of inquiry, to teach the first women's history courses at the University of South Florida, to co-found the first international women's history journal. I've traveled from Australia to Oslo, from Cuba to Cambridge, from Montreal to Milan, and all over the United States, presenting talks, organizing conferences, collaborating with other scholars, and promoting women's history. But I've also always come back to Western New York. I helped create the first exhibit at the Women's Rights National Historical Park in Seneca Falls, consulted on a local documentary and on major exhibits at the Rochester Museum and Science Center, and I've given lectures at University of Rochester, Rochester General Hospital, Strong Museum, and of course, here at Brockport. And I've led workshops on integrating race and gender into the curriculum for middle school and high school teachers here and elsewhere. But I've also sought to repay Brockport by teaching for most of my career in state universities and seeking out those students who have gotten off track like me, or who don't realize their potential, or who can't imagine what paths are open to them. This certainly doesn't mean directing them all into academic jobs, which are all too few. But I have former students working as labor lawyers, librarians, Episcopal priests, physician's assistants, museum curators, community organizers, and in a host of other occupations. I hope that I've helped my students as Brockport faculty help me to see new possibilities and succeed in fields they might never have imagined pursuing. And I've tried to engage my students the way Brockport professors engaged me, opening up different ways of thinking, challenging them to read everything from textbooks to text messages with a critical eye, and bringing out the very best they have to offer. As you venture forth into careers or graduate and professional schools or voluntary organizations or political campaigns or wherever life carries you, I hope you'll look back on your years at Brockport with the same appreciation and joy that I feel for this institution. There's a lot of work to be done to make this world a better place, whether your goal is to improve the environment, advance social justice, cure disease, choreograph a dance, create music and art, revitalize the economy, invent the next generation of technology, or educate the next generation of students. In repaying our debt to Brockport, we can contribute mightily to these projects and carry forward the intellectual and personal gifts we received as graduates of this vibrant institution. So thank you, Brockport, and congratulations, class of 2010.